There's a reason you feel tired, even when you've done nothing all day. There's a reason your heart is full of questions, but no one seems to answer. Maybe it's because no one ever taught you the rules of life. Not in school, not at home, not in any book. But life. Life teaches you in silence, through heartbreak, failure, and late-night thoughts. Today, you'll finally hear the truths no one told you. Not because they were hiding them, but because they didn't know them either. These are not just lessons, these are survival tools. Listen closely, because one of these might just save your future. Asterisk, asterisk, welcome to Chronoverse, where your future begins with understanding your past. Have you ever felt like life is silently passing by while you're too busy just trying to catch up? It often seems like others know some unspoken truths that you somehow missed. But life doesn't give out a manual, it gives you experiences. And hidden inside those moments are quiet lessons, waiting to be discovered. There's a difference between spending time and truly living. Many people confuse time with money, but the truth is, time is life. Every hour you trade for things that don't serve your future is a piece of your life you'll never get back. And yet, people waste it like it's endless. What would change? If you started treating your time like the most valuable currency in the world. Some wait for motivation to strike like lightning, but those who actually build the life they want, they understand that discipline is far more powerful. You won't always feel like doing the right thing, but if you train yourself to act regardless of emotion, that's where your power begins to grow. In conversations, it's tempting to speak, to give opinions, to explain, but you'll learn far more by simply listening. Quiet observation often reveals more than loud words. Most people listen just to respond, but when you truly listen to understand, you start to notice what others miss. As you grow, some people will drift away. It can hurt, but not everyone is meant to stay. Some are lessons, some are mirrors, some are simply passing by to show you something about yourself. Learning to let go without hate is one of the most liberating things you can do. Have you ever been trapped in your own head? Thoughts spinning like a storm, doubts, fears, what-ifs. It's important to remember that your thoughts are not always facts. Your mind can trick you, especially when you're tired, anxious, or afraid. Challenge your inner dialogue. Question it. Don't believe every scary thought just because it feels real. In a world obsessed with sharing, there's something powerful about keeping things to yourself. You don't need to announce every plan, every win, or every struggle. Sometimes silence is your greatest strength. The things you keep private can be your safest sanctuary. You know, people don't just treat you the way they feel. They treat you based on what you allow. If you constantly accept being disrespected, ignored, or taken for granted, it becomes your pattern. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. You're not here to be everyone's comfort zone. It's not the big, dramatic actions that change your life. It's the small things you do every single day. Repeating the right habits, even when no one's watching, slowly builds a foundation that feels like luck to others, but it isn't. Luck, it's consistency. Fear is often disguised as logic. It whispers, be careful, not now, what if you fail? But the truth is, most fears are just illusions, shadows of your past, not warnings of your future. The life you want lives on the other side of the fear you avoid. People often ask, what's my purpose? As if it's something buried under a rock, waiting to be found. But purpose isn't found, it's built. You start by doing things that feel meaningful. You help, you create, you grow. And one day, you look back and realize you've built a life that matters. Asterisk, there comes a moment in life when you realize most of the things that matter weren't taught in school. Not how to handle heartbreak, not how to calm your mind when it's screaming with doubts, not even how to truly understand yourself. These lessons, they arrive quietly, usually after something breaks. One of the hardest truths to accept is this: no one is coming to save you. Not a friend, not a partner, not even your family. And that's not a sad thought. It's a powerful one, because once you understand that your life is your responsibility, you stop waiting and start building. You start becoming your own hero. In the age of constant comparison, it's easy to think you're behind. Scrolling through highlight reels of other people's lives, you start to believe you're not enough. But you're not late. You're on your own clock. Someone else's success does not equal your failure. Life is not a race, and fulfillment isn't something you chase, it's something you craft slowly. Sometimes healing looks like isolation, like staying in on weekends, like saying no more than yes, like disconnecting from people who drain your energy. Growth is quiet, doesn't always look productive, but in those silent spaces, you're rebuilding, and that rebuilding is sacred. There's a kind of strength that doesn't roar. It doesn't show off. It just endures. It wakes up every day, even when everything feels heavy, and says, I'm still here. That kind of strength, it changes you. It teaches you that surviving is also a form of winning. Kindness is not weakness. In fact, being kind in a world that is often cruel is one of the bravest things you can do. But kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. You can care deeply and still walk away when you're being hurt. Compassion should never come at the cost of your dignity. You don't always need a plan. Sometimes you just need space to breathe, to feel, to wander without purpose. The best moments often arrive when you stop trying to control everything. Life unfolds in unexpected ways. Let it surprise you. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about freeing yourself. When you hold on to anger, you're still chained to the past. Forgiveness is for peace, not approval. You don't need to tell them it's okay. You just need to stop letting it poison your today. Success has many faces. It's not always money or fame or power. Sometimes it's just waking up and liking who you are. Sometimes it's sleeping peacefully without guilt. Sometimes it's choosing peace over proving a point. You don't owe everyone access to you. Being available 24/7 isn't noble, it's draining. Protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Not everyone deserves your time, your attention, or your trust. Learn to be okay with disappointing people who only show up when it benefits them. There's beauty in slowing down, in watching the rain fall, in taking long walks without a destination, in drinking tea without checking your phone. Presence is a lost art, and yet it's the doorway to joy. The more present you become, the richer life feels. You are allowed to evolve. Who you were 5 years ago doesn't define who you are today. Growth means outgrowing people, habits, beliefs, even versions of yourself. Don't stay the same just to make others comfortable. Sometimes the silence says more than any words ever could. Pay attention to the pauses, the hesitations, the quiet exits. People will often reveal their intentions through what they don't say. You don't always get closure from others. Sometimes you give it to yourself. You accept what happened. You release what won't come back. And you move forward. not because you're over it, but because you deserve peace more than you deserve answers. Some days feel heavier than others. You wake up tired, your heart already full of noise. The world feels like it's spinning too fast, and you're just trying to hold on. But those days, the ones that test you the most, are often the ones that shape you the deepest. There's a quiet kind of bravery in simply continuing. When you get out of bed, even when you don't feel like it. When you show up for yourself, even if no one else notices. Progress isn't always loud. Sometimes it's invisible. But it matters. You'll notice something interesting as you grow. Peace starts to matter more than attention. You no longer want to prove anything. You just want a calm mind, a gentle life, and people who feel like sunlight. Drama becomes exhausting, and solitude becomes sacred. It's okay to rest. Productivity is not the same as worth. You're not a machine. You don't exist just to check boxes and meet deadlines. You are a human being, not a human doing. Rest is not laziness. Sometimes it's survival. You won't always be motivated, but you can always choose to stay committed. Real growth happens when you keep going even after the excitement fades. When it's no longer fun, but still meaningful. People often ask, how do I find happiness? But maybe the better question is, what's stealing it? You don't always need to add more. Sometimes you need to subtract. Less comparison, less perfection, less overthinking. When you let go of the unnecessary, happiness has space to return. There's power in saying no. No to people who manipulate your kindness. No to obligations that drain your spirit. No to old versions of yourself that no longer fit who you're becoming. Every no is a yes to something better. Your peace, your values, your boundaries. You're allowed to feel lost. Life isn't linear. You don't have to have everything figured out by a certain age. The path is never as straight as it looks from the outside. What matters is that you keep walking, even if it's slow, even if you don't know the destination yet. The mind is a garden. What you feed, it grows. If you constantly feed it fear, comparison, regret, that's what will bloom. But if you feed it curiosity, patience, and self-compassion, that's what will grow. You are what you repeat. Some people love the version of you that makes their life easier, not necessarily the version that is most authentic. So when you start to change, to grow, to say what you really mean, don't be surprised if they resist. That's not your problem. Stay true to the person you're becoming. You are not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are not too emotional. You are a living, feeling human being in a world that often tells people to shut down. Don't shrink. To fit, the right people will honor your depth, not shame it. You don't need to chase people. The ones meant for you won't need convincing. They'll show up, stay present, and make space for you to be fully you. Energy doesn't lie. If someone truly values you, you'll feel it. And if they don't, that's also an answer. Not all storms come to destroy. Some come to clear your path. The heartbreak, the failure, the closed door, they hurt, yes, but sometimes they're redirecting you towards something far better. Trust the detour. It's part of the design. When life gets chaotic, come back to the basics. Drink water, breathe deeply, go outside, touch a tree, watch the sky change. Return to your body, return to the now. This moment right here is enough. Asterisk at some point, the noise starts to fade. The opinions, the pressure, the expectations, they all become quieter. And what rises in the silence is your own voice, the one you've been ignoring for years. You realize that happiness was never in the big things, not in the promotion, the house, the applause. It was always in the small moments, the warmth of morning light, the sound of laughter, the quiet pride after doing something honest. You stop chasing highs and start appreciating balance. There comes a time when you understand that not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Being kind doesn't mean being available to everyone. Some people only come to take your time, your energy, your peace. And when you finally say no, you don't become cold. You become clear. You learn that your worth isn't tied to your productivity. You are valuable even on your slow days, even when you're resting, even when you're simply breathing. You're not here just to perform. You're here to live. And sometimes living means doing nothing at all and still knowing you matter. You stop arguing with reality. The things that didn't work out, the people who left, the dreams that shifted, all of it makes sense in hindsight. Pain often clears the path that comfort blocks. And with time, you stop asking why me and start saying thank you. Not because it was easy, but because you grew. You begin to see that closure isn't always something you get from others. Sometimes it's the decision you make on your own to forgive, to let go, to stop waiting. You no longer need apologies to move forward. You choose peace, and that choice is yours alone. You understand that growth is often invisible. You might not see it in the mirror, but it shows in your reactions, in how you don't argue like you used to, in how you protect your energy, in how you pause before speaking. Maturity isn't loud, it's calm. You learn to trust the timing of your life. Everything won't happen when you want it to, but it often happens when you're ready, even if you don't realize it. The delays, the detours, the pauses, they're not always setbacks. Sometimes they're protection. You stop proving yourself to family, to friends, to the world. The only person you need to impress is the one you see in the mirror. And when that person starts liking who they are, life changes. You accept that some chapters will close without warning. No explanation, no goodbye, just silence. And you learn to walk away without needing a dramatic ending. Not every goodbye deserves your energy. Some peace is found in walking away quietly. You recognize that strength isn't always about holding on. Sometimes it's about letting go of grudges, of guilt, of the version of yourself that only knew survival. You start choosing joy, not because life is perfect, but because you're done choosing pain. You realize you can start again at any moment, in any place, with anyone or no one. You're not stuck just because you've been in one place for a long time. The moment you decide, this is not how my story ends, a new page begins. You no longer chase people. If someone wants to stay, they will. If they leave, you let them. Love isn't about convincing someone of your worth. It's about sharing your light and letting them meet you there. If they can't, it's not your loss. You embrace solitude, not because you want to be alone, but because you've found peace in your own presence. There's a difference between loneliness and stillness. One hurts, the other heals, and in the end, you stop searching for a perfect life. You start creating a meaningful one that's messy but real, quiet but honest, one where you wake up and say, this is enough, because it is, you are.